I not long woke up and I couldn't help myself. I had to talk about a topic to do with oversaturating content. I'm someone that has an analytical mind, but something a bit of an obsession sometimes, um, where I'll read something multiple times, especially the things I'd create. I will go over it and over and over. It's absolutely crazy, and I don't know why I do it, but it can reach the point where if you read something too much, it loses its meaning or loses its potency, you know. So you go, God damn, that ain't as good as I thought it was. But you think, wait a minute, you're only supposed to read it once. You know, you maybe weren't supposed to read it 30 times. And that's where I go wrong sometimes. Like if I create my videos and I watch the video back, maybe I watch the video back 10 times, you know, and of course, but like anything, it get annoying. Um, so the whole point of really what I'm trying to say is when I write my books, there's such a stage of editing and rereading that it can seem like it's not as great as you think it is, but it is a lot better than you realise. So if anybody's starting out doing writing and they have a similar sort of attitude where they read to the point of boredom, um, it doesn't mean your work isn't great. It just means that you've oversaturated it. So you've actually reached a point where you can't objectify it. It's too much. Um, so there's a need really to not do that so much. But we can do an awful lot. We really can. I mean, if you have a story if you have a story to tell, then tell it. Um, you know, there's no need to keep it inside, fearing people's reactions or whether something's good enough or not. I think all of our stories are good enough. It's how we tell it, I think, is the critical part. Um, but if you have a hard time, I think sharing your story is maybe worth looking at how other people share theirs, and then maybe it helps provide a path. But yeah, writing is a craft in itself. Editing is a pain, but it's a must. We have to effectively we write what we have to say, and it's raw, unabridged, and then we have to look at it and read it again and go, oh, it's not quite how I remember it. I thought it was a lot clearer in my mind. Maybe there's a word missing, maybe the sentence is fragmented, maybe a whole paragraph needs to be removed or a new paragraph added. It's all these little tweaks. So then you refine it, and you read it all again. And you go, damn, it's still not quite right. Is there something quite missing? And that's what editing is. It's literally a complete go over so many times. But of course, the more you hear it, the more you sort of get fed up. But when you reach a point where I think you've read something enough times and it still creates a spark, you know, you've done something great. At this moment in time, the book I released last year hasn't had a lot of attention, but as I say, I'm not on social media. I don't promote. So it stands to reason that my latest works probably won't get noticed, but it doesn't really bother me. It's just I think when it does get noticed, I think people will stop and listen, because my last book, Heal Your Mind to Free Your Soul, you know, it's my favorite book. It's my favorite book. I think the others have specific meanings. I think Losing Your Mind to Find Your Soul and A Father's Daughter, I think they'd probably be the two that are more iconic. A Father's Daughter was the first book in telling what happened when my daughter was taken away by her mother. You know, it was emotional, it's traumatic, and I think anyone looking into that side of my life is gonna, I think, cling to that book, because that was a moment when it all happened. I think Losing Your Mind to Find Your Soul is the spiritual evolution and the spiritual journey, and that really mean a lot to so many people. I think because it's more like, it'll be like a guidebook and a handbook. But Heal Your Mind to Free Your Soul is really what happens next. It's life in general. It's not the spiritual side. It's not necessarily looking at trauma, but how we live our lives. The obstacles we come up against, how we navigate through them, how we maintain our identity, um, and then looking at life as a whole. Where's society going wrong? What could we change? What's the meaning of life? How do we raise children? It's it's everything I wanted to say, really. But then I realised after writing the book that I still had more to say. It was like, wait a minute, that's not a be all and end all. I thought that was the closing that chapter, and we thought I'll go off and write other things. So the next book that comes out is further addition to this. Really, it's more like there's chapters that I never said and I didn't even realise, and it's like that I've still got at the moment, in the time of writing my next book, I have at the moment about 50 chapters written, titled, half of them written, half not. But I'm close to concluding it, so I'm like, well, either this book's going to be absolutely huge in size, or I'm going to have to split that into 2 books. So what started off as 1 book is going to be 3. But it's not a trilogy because it still continues off of the spiritual book. I'm making that the whole series, really, because I think it all blends into each other, and I want to show how spirituality sort of blends within daily life too. And there's some things I do in my daily life that can seem pretentious. So if something's prophesized, or I see something about the future, or something I just think needs to be marked for history, I tell it. Now, me saying this might happen in the future, this might my ambitions and dreams, it can look pretentious. It can look like I'm a bit self-obsessed, but it's not that at all. It's me laying the marker for history. So when something happens, it's a validation that psychics and spirituality is real and it's all around us. If we don't lay those markers beforehand, it's just it's meaningless, isn't it? If I say when positive change happens that, oh yeah, I had a sign about that, but there's no recognition of that sign, it could just seem fake. So literally, it's a case of just leave the markers for history, and let people decide for themselves. It's not me pointing to the markers and saying, everybody, look at this, look at this. It's like people can figure the trail out themselves. People that want to know something, they'll figure it out. People that don't, won't. Yeah, you can't change. I think people that don't want to change. Some people like to keep their head stuck in the headlights, really. They don't like to deviate. So if they believe something, and there's some people are so rigid, they won't even consider alternatives. But to each their own, really. We can't really change or even want to change people. It's not our job. Our job is to change ourselves, adapt, evolve. If we think one thing today, and through knowledge, experiences, and understanding, our opinion changes in the future, there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, it's good. It's good because we're evolving. So it means that what we felt in a given moment was authentic of that stage, of that, based on our understanding of life in that moment. But we can always change, and I think that's important, rather than hold on to an idea, because when we hold on to an idea, we're not open to adapting, we're not open to change, we're not open to evolution. So my beliefs are strong and inherent within myself, based on my understanding of life today. In 20 years' time, I may have an absolutely different perspective of it. My idea of my beliefs and my spiritual beliefs may evolve into something completely new. They'll go, whoa, wait a minute, I never had this revelation. So, for instance, at the moment, my opinion of God is gods, the plural. So it's the pagans, because I believe ancient Egypt has the key to so much. If you just look at the hieroglyphics, it's far ahead of its time. It's surreal. But maybe the more I delve into it, I start to unlock truths, and maybe my opinion of that even adapts and changes. So I don't think anything's set in stone and certain. It's just based on what we think and believe now. So it's important that we learn to think and believe for ourselves, not necessarily following other people's opinions and ideas. We can use it to form our own opinions. And I think that's the beauty of life anyway, is that we experience it for ourselves. It's not a case of someone experiences it for us. It's when we tell our stories and we tell our life journeys, it just adds information. It's not necessarily saying, this is the way I live my life, this is the beliefs I have, this is how I treat my daily life is how you have to treat yours. For instance, there might be someone that just absolutely is a fitness fanatic, and maybe other people don't want to be to fitness, but you can't say that you have to live your life like the fitness fanatic just because they do. We have to blend it how we want to blend it. Um, Maybe we do a little bit of exercise, or maybe we choose never to exercise. And the same goes for our mind. Um, what do we take into our daily life? Because some people are devout, some people use things as casually, and effectively, that's exactly what it all is. It's like you don't have to keep worshipping and praying to things. You just get on with your daily life, and I think by honouring yourself, you're honouring higher beings anyway, whether you are aware of it or not. I think just by looking after yourself and believing in yourself and going after your dreams and goals, and not at the expense of others, because I think that's important. There's so much greed in this world. When we take from someone to boost ourselves up, I think that's incredibly sad. We shouldn't have to hurt someone to gain. We shouldn't have to lose ourselves or destroy something just to succeed. We should be able to succeed on our own and succeed on our own merits. It shouldn't be trying to replicate someone, because by doing that we lose our own identities. We have to be authentic. Authenticity for me is like the most important thing. Be true to you, and be true to ourselves, and then everything else falls into place after. But if we're fake imposters, where does it all end? If you can't even be true to yourself or show your true self, what is there? It's all artificial. If it's artificial, then it's only going to be short-lived anyway, because no one can keep a mask forever. And especially, I think people that do that, people that are manipulative and they are artificial, they'll always find someone else to mimic. So if it's mimicking one person and someone else seems more interesting, they're going to keep mimicking and mimicking and mimicking. And eventually they won't even know who they are. And then they'll have a breakdown, because they won't have an identity crisis. The identity crisis is they never knew who they were in the first place. And I think when you get too far away from who you are, I think it's really hard to get a grasp of who you are. I think it's hard to recover that. I don't think it's impossible, but it's hard. So if you get so far removed from yourself, it could take years and years to finally get anywhere near the authentic you. Whereas if you stay true to yourself from day one, you haven't got anything to recover. So you've just got time and space to evolve and grow and really build everything for yourself. So yeah, don't ever copy someone, never mimic, never be someone else. Be true to yourself, love who you are, embrace your flaws, embrace everything about yourself, because your flaws are the quirks, and quirks are what people find endearing. So often the thing that most people see as their flaw and they're insecure about is the one thing that other people see as charming. I think that's worth just remembering that. Yeah, it's the one thing that someone may love the most, and it's the one thing you hate. So that's quite interesting. So that's like, don't change yourself unnecessarily, just for a fear and insecurity, because like I say, someone will absolutely cherish that, and it's what sets us apart, makes us different. But yeah, I just wanted to get on here really about the self-obsession I have sometimes with over reading, over analysing. It can make. I actually wrote that in a dating article I put on my website. I think it was called midlife dating. It might be that one or the one before, but I wrote something about I overanalyze situations to the point where it's boring. So pretty much I ruin opportunities for romance, really, because I overthink it so much to the point where it's no longer interesting. It is really stupid, because if I just went with the flow, relationships would flow, I guess. But I'm so picky, it's ridiculous. But then I think if you ain't picky, a big problem I have in romance, to be honest, is that there's so many factors that it makes it almost impossible to date. I am a romantic at heart, but I'm a realist, so I need a role model for my daughter more than anything. Then I need someone that can put up with my personality, which is incredibly strong, I'd say, because I don't really let people dominate me, sway me. So I'm very stubborn, opinionated. But then the other side of me is I'm quirky, whimsical, I'm funny, I'm goofy. I don't care what people think. I could be stupid in front of people if I want to be. It doesn't affect me at all. So there's there's so many little quirks. But because I'm outspoken, the biggest hindrance I have is I need someone that's strong. I'm very outspoken. I wouldn't want to put someone in the spotlight in a situation that couldn't handle it, and it's not fair for me to put that on someone. What I create is my own doing. I've been very outspoken for the past few years. My daughter I know is strong enough. She's flushed like me, and that's why I'm enabling her to speak up when she wants to speak up. And sometimes she can go a little too far as she's learning for herself at school. But I can't interfere with that because I need her to be strong enough to speak up. If I tell her, no, don't do that, it suppresses her. So I'm sure she's strong enough. I'll protect her anyway. But I think when you're looking for a romantic partner, it just becomes so complicated because how do you blend all that? How do you find someone that can be a good role model to the child, put up with your quirks and stubbornness and everything else that goes with it, and then place themselves in a situation where there's going to be a lot of people that don't like what you say? Are you strong enough to cope with that? And it's a difficult thing for anyone to judge, isn't it? Like, I know what I'm setting up, I know what I'm building towards, and I don't care about the onslaught that comes at me, but it's not fair to put someone else in that situation, I think. So it gets a bit hard. Of course, I've gone completely off topic here, but that's kind of where it all goes full swing. It goes full circle. But yeah, it's important that we're not too self-obsessed. We have to consider other people too, and I think sometimes it's better to protect people, keep them at arm's length when we're on a journey that's maybe unique and others won't truly understand. Because the other side of it, of course, is when it comes to religions, I'm quite outspoken about it, especially in my book Losing Your Mind to Find Your Soul, but I also go quite heavily in Heal Your Mind to Free Your Soul. I did a whole chapter on it. I'm not sure what one it was now. Might have been In the Meaning of Life, I think. But yeah, I went on a whole transit on that. So of course, if I meet someone that is religious, they're not going to like my views. If I meet someone that's an atheist, which is what I was in the past before this huge transformation, my opinions would grind on them. I wouldn't want to. I wouldn't want to sway them from their own decisions. So that makes for interesting conversations, but potentially often clashing. As I get older, I just want tranquility. I can't be bothered with chaos, toxicity. I've had times in the past where I've bashed my head against the wall, trying to educate people, but in the end, it reached a point where I don't even want to educate people. I don't want to change who they are. I don't need them to believe in me. I don't need them to believe my views. It's just, I'll share my views and people can hear it, and it makes no difference. If someone said to me, prove anything, I don't need to. I just don't need to. I'll leave little markers along the way, but I don't need to prove anything outstanding. Because it's in my heart and it's in whom I am. So I know what I'm doing, I know who I am, I know the experiences I've had, I know how I understand and process information, and it makes sense to me. But yeah, how do you find someone that ticks all the boxes? It's just quite difficult, I think. So some people are fleeting in love, some people are not. For me, I can't let anyone get in the way of what I'm creating either. So if it's a negative distraction, it's only going to hold me back and slow me down. So there's a side of me that craves romance. It'd be nice to share my life with someone and build something together, but at the same time, it's like what I'm creating is more than all of that, I think. So I can't risk stopping. I'm sure it all comes together. Again, like I said, I leave timestamps for history. I have had signs in the past of someone returning, which would be nice because I do have someone in mind who would be absolutely perfect for all those boxes that need ticking. But we've sort of grown apart or drifted apart. I'm so stubborn that I don't chase, but I know boundaries as well, so I wouldn't want to push them. If it's not them, I have had another reading in the past where it was said that um, when I am well-rounded and sort of the ultimate version of myself, the person will come into my life who I'm supposed to be with. So it's been set aside by God and Spirit, and ready for that moment, but not until. Which is frustrating for me because it'd be nice. So yeah, ain't all doom and gloom. It will happen, and it'll probably seem like a miracle. Um, but yeah, I just continue ploughing along with the journey. Um, I am like this person right there, just looking up at the skies. But it doesn't look very happy. It's looking up at the angry cloud. Um, but yeah, it's casting away those shadows, isn't it? Casting away the pain, the shadows, the torment. And you can stand there with all that chaos around you and still be comfortable in your own skin. I think that's quite powerful in itself because there's a lot of negativity in this world. And if we can be ourselves with so much chaos around us, it shines a light, and other people will gravitate towards that light and feel comfortable being themselves, um, casting away other people's judgment, opinions. And I think being authentic is really the key to happiness, because when you can be authentic with yourself, you have an inner knowing of who you are, what you want, and then you can just strive towards it. You don't, the distractions, the chaos. I call chaotic people like tornadoes. Um, it's like you've got this tornado just spinning all the time, and it's like, well, yeah, we leave that to blow itself out because I'm not going to get involved there. So we start to pick our battles more as well as we attune to our lifestyles and our way of being. It's quite nice because, like I say, I used to get in a lot of arguments, get a lot of debates, but I don't do that so much anymore because I just have no interest. It's like someone wants to challenge me, believe what you want. It's like that's fine. Yeah, I don't need you to agree with me. Don't need you to believe in what I'm saying. Don't need you to believe in who I am even, because that's another thing. Is the death of the ego. That's huge. That's huge. Too many people are reactive when someone says something that's hurtful, but it's just words. And if you think of your life as a bubble, your person, your being, you're surrounded by a bubble. Everybody else has got bubbles. Their bubbles bump into your bubbles, and if let's say that their bubble's full of toxicity, it's completely negative. So much hate, so much anger. Your bubble is filled with tranquility. You're just yourself. You're not even bothering anyone else. But they throw their stuff on you. Just let it bounce off. It makes no difference. Your reaction makes no difference to that person's logical thinking. If you react in anger, it's what they expected, so they're ready for it. If you don't react, it bothers them because they were looking for attention in the first place. But either way, whatever your reaction is not going to change who they are. You're not going to change their opinion. So, for instance, if someone came to me and said negative things about my daughter, for instance, in the past, I'd probably want to hurt them, defensive as a father. Now, if you say something, words, they're just words. What? I have to defend someone's honor. What's the point of that? It doesn't do anything. So it makes you look weak, but it's not. It's actually understanding that there's just words. It's just someone's throwing their negative attitude around because they've got nothing positive in their life and they don't know how to direct themselves. So they throw hate around. So it's up to us to be big enough to say, okay, that's what you've got to say. That's what you've got to say. Wonderful. Well done for you. You just continue upon your path. Let it blow off. It's just, they do it for attention. People will do that. And it's understanding that we don't have to defend anyone's honor. The problem is a lot of younger women, I'd say younger women because it's probably more younger women, they will instigate situations like that because they like all that. They want to get people into fights. They want to get people defending them because they get that attention. It makes them feel, look how much they love me or they care about me. The problem is they're the ones that cause that. And as a male, of course, when you're trying to fight for the attention of a female, you're going to get in situations like that where you're going to think, I have to do it for them. But then the problem is you either hurt yourself or the other person gets really hurt. And you see it all too often where someone's ended up in jail because of a situation that a younger woman instigated. And that younger woman, while the other one's in jail, walks off and finds someone else, causes the same chaos in another life, and it happened continually. So this person never takes accountability. They always feel like they're the victim anyway. Meanwhile, these other people have suffered because they've reacted out of ego to fight for their honor, and now their lives are ruined because they're either in jail or in hospital or hurt. And it's like, what was the if you go backwards through all that? Why not just leave it when someone says something? Why not just let it blow off? If the female, for instance, I'm putting it in a female point of view, this isn't a sexist thing, I'm just putting it as the role in the role play. If the female took exception to it and doesn't like it, it's tough. It really is. It's like, oh, you ain't going to fight for my honour. No, I ain't fighting for your honour. If they don't like it, go and find someone else, because clearly that person's just looking to get people in trouble anyway. So once you start to learn those life lessons, you realise that it's so meaningless. It's so petty. It's like childhood theatrics, schoolyard theatrics. It only gives meaning because someone gave it meaning. So when you say you're fighting for someone's honour, that's only because someone gave it substance in the first place. In the overall scheme of things, it really means nothing. If someone feels victimised by the words someone said, then that's for them to cope with. It's not for you to fight to redeem it. It's not going to change it. You go and get in an altercation over some words that were said. How did it get resolved? What fixed that problem? Either way the words were said, you can't take the words back. It solves nothing. People need to start taking more accountability of their actions and realise that words are words, but physical is a different level. And there's an inherent danger in that. It's not a case of like, just think twice. That's all I could say, think twice, because it only takes one moment where maybe you only tapped someone and then they stumble, and then they hit their head on a curb, or they hit their head on a lamppost, or hit their head on something. All of a sudden, all lives have been changed. That person who has been attacked has now lost their health, possibly life. The person who did the attack has now put themselves in jeopardy, because now everything they was building towards, everything they want, all the dreams and goals, for that one moment of heated anger, has now put themselves in a position where they're going to probably be in jail for a long time. And even if they're not in jail, they're going to probably lose their jobs, and this has so many repercussions that people just need to learn to think twice before they do things. And it's like, and then you negate the need to worry. Just someone says something, let it blow off, keep walking. It's not hard. But like I say, sometimes it's that social, it's ingrained in your social life, where people have put that on you. But yeah, we don't have to fight at all. We can just share our opinions and continue upon our day. If our opinions bother someone, then that's them to deal with. We can't control how other people process information, because that's the big thing. How everybody processes information is based off of their intelligence to start with, and their conditioning, their social conditioning, and from their environment from childhood, and every experience after. For instance, if you've got someone that's been, let's say they've been in negative relationship after negative relationship, all of a sudden that they're going to be traumatized to the point where they no longer trust people. Because why would they trust anyone when they never had anyone trusting in their life to begin with? If all you've known is toxicity in childhood, and then in adulthood it's the same thing, what hope is there to find people that are genuine and sincere? But of course, it also creates a situation where even if you met someone that's genuine and sincere, if all you've ever known is toxicity, you're probably going to act in the same way you was always treated. So let's say you always had to have arguments in your relationship just to have their attention, and then you meet someone that's genuine, kind, and caring. You're probably going to instigate arguments in that situation because it's just what becomes normal, and that's our conditioning. So it's up to us to be smart enough and intelligent enough to accept that we need to evolve, we need to learn, we need to grow, we need to become better. And if we're following the wrong people or hanging out with the wrong people, we need to let them go. It's like I did yesterday when I did a video yesterday about getting on the bus. We're on the bus with people, but sometimes we get off the bus and the bus continues and we go on a different journey. There's nothing wrong with that. We're on our own path. We don't have to follow everyone everywhere. We don't have to be on the same journeys. Really, it's up to us to take responsibility of our lives. We take responsibility of our lives, and then we can hold ourselves accountable. But when we allow other people to be puppet masters of our lives, they're accountable, but we've allowed them the position in the first place because no one ever gave anyone positions of power in our lives. We have to take it. If you did it from childhood, for instance, once you get to an age where you can leave home, leave. If someone's that toxic, um, but every decision we make along our life is our own responsibility. You know, we all finish school at the same age. I wrote about this in Heal Your Mind, Free Your Soul. Yeah, again, I wrote in it about we finish school at the same age, and it's up to us what decisions we make when we finish school. You know, some people will take a year out, 2 years out, and they completely derail. Maybe they do nothing for their life. Someone else goes to college, they get an education. Other people get a job, they make experiences through that way, and they gain promotions. Or um, effectively, where you see yourself 5 years after school is based on the decisions we make and our behaviour and so many other traits. You know, if some people are regimented and they're prepared to invest in themselves, maybe they elevate quicker. Someone that sleeps in all day, allows temptations and things to derail them, they're going to have a slower development. But what we can't do is be jealous of someone that actually invested in themselves. But it doesn't mean, like I started off the video, we don't have to be a mirror of someone else. Just because someone else wants to evolve quickly doesn't mean we have to. We can work at our own pace, but understand that where we are is based on our own decisions we make. So we just have to hold ourselves accountable. If we want to be further along, we're going to have to invest more in ourselves and not allow distractions. Likewise, if we're exhausted and we're fed up, moving at a fast pace, so maybe we've got to slow down and enjoy life a little bit more. So there's always a balance to be had, but it's down to us. Only we can make the transformation. It can't be someone else does it for us. And if we're waiting on that, then it's never going to happen, because it's like, for instance, it's not my job to transform someone else's life. It's my job to transform my own. If someone says, "Oh, I need you to do this for me though, because I can't do it on my own," it's like I can give advice and I can maybe give little pearls of wisdom, but you're going to have to implement that yourself. Because if I stop doing what I'm doing to continually do it for other people, where's my evolution? Where's my growth? I'm responsible for mine, you know, so I won't allow people to derail me. Yeah, in the past I would. That's the difference. I've learned through experience. I gave up so much about 15 years in my previous relationship and before. I always held myself on pause. And it's only really for the past 5-7 years where I've really, really pushed myself beyond that, and I realised how far I've grown and evolved. And through that experience, it's like, wait a minute, I'm never going back to the old way. People will hang on to you as much as they can. People will try and make you feel sorry for them and make them feel like they're useless to try and make you do everything for them. So effectively, you end up just looking after someone else rather than even just building yourself. And when you realise how much you can grow on your own, if you do you, it's amazing, and there's no going back from that. So yeah, like I say, people have to learn to fend for themselves in some regards. It's not all selfish. There's times when you do help people. You'll know it yourself when there's a kindness to be had. But you will also notice the people that actually latch on purpose to make them feel comfortable. You see it all the time. Maybe someone hasn't gone off to college or something, and they try and stop you going to college or something. You know, so that's just to keep themselves in their comfortable state. They'd rather hold you back from your life and dreams, because it scares them to be alone. You know, and I think that's when we have to say, no. I've got my goals, mate. If you want to do what I'm doing, you can always do that. But I'm doing me. So anyway, that's the whole point. Be authentic to you.